The two elements that hold a large portion of the blame for the moral downfall of our society is the feminist movement and the sexual revolution. And I will tell you why. Feminism turns women into screeching, whining, spoiled shrews who scream sexual harassment at the drop of a pin. And women in the workplace, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? First of all, women in general work less hours. And not only that, but even if they are working equal hours, they are not doing as hard of work. A man and a woman could have the exact same job, and I guarantee you, the man will be doing more work than the woman. If a woman is worth a certain price, she will be paid that price. And why would anyone want to hire you if they risk a 90% chance of you crying sexual harassment because someone asked you out on a date? Now men are vilified just for, doing what would have, 40 years ago been seen as a respectful courtship practice. I mean, you're not making yourself look very appealing. By observing polling, you can gather that 90% of the time, it is the woman who decided to leave the man. It is the women in today's society who are the commitment phobes, not the men. And you may hear some statistics that are lower, but if you looked into those, 90% of the time when the guy was the one to leave the woman, it was because the woman wanted him to leave and was, encouraging him to divorce her anyway. So basically, why on earth would it be an appealing idea for any reasonable man to enter into the institution of marriage where he basically has a 50% chance of his wife leaving him, taking his children, kicking him out of his own house, demanding money from him, and marrying someone else? That doesn't exactly sound like fun. Now let's start with the basics, where an unattractive woman has the option of getting sexual pleasure from one of the most attractive or desirable males. The unattractive male does not have that option. The unattractive male does not have the option of getting, sexual needs met with the most desirable women. Because the women are still choosy in who they select. So you have 95% of all women going after the same 15% of all males because they're the most desirable ones. And what happened in the past before feminism, when marriage was actually encouraged and seen as a good thing, was outside of high school, after high school graduation, the most desirable females would select the most desirable males. The most desirable 15% of males would have been snatched up and married by the time they were 20. And thus, all the rest of the women were like, oh crap, I gotta hurry up and pick a guy before all the good ones are taken, because they really would get taken. So the accounts that we hear about jerky men and men who, they're just too afraid to commit, and they're just horrible, mean men, jerks. Ugh. Dude, they're not jerks. It's just math. If 90% of the women are going after the same 15% of men, the men obviously can't have a committed relationship with all these women. Now, he'll hang out with her long enough to, maybe go out with her a couple of times and have sex with her. But, I mean, the women of today's society act like just because they went on a date with a guy or just because they slept with a guy, they are now entitled to a wedding ring. And then they vilify the most desirable men who should actually be applauded for their caution in choosing a mate. Because honestly, dude, I wouldn't really want to marry any of these chicks of today either if I was a dude. And so this man who has basically been a good person, trying to be a nice guy, to be a good husband for a woman, just trying to work and get a job and be a good provider or whatever, and just trying to find a good woman to share his life with. That's what he spent his 20s doing. And what she was doing during her 20s was throwing herself at this top 15% of guys who, didn't want to commit to her. And now, all of a sudden, since she realized that she's not going to get anywhere with those guys, now she's willing to date him? No. Dude, I mean, if you didn't like him then, why should he give you a chance now? No wonder why dudes are so pessimistic about marriage. It's our fault. It is the women's fault. It's not hot. And if you're wondering why men all of a sudden aren't committing to you, if you're wondering why all of a sudden these patterns have developed in our society, then look in the freaking mirror. Divorce should be made more difficult and given great inconveniences by law. Incentives given to couples who are not married should be eliminated. If a woman conceives a child outside of marriage, the male should have no monetary or legal obligation to the child. And likewise, if a woman is pregnant outside of marriage, the male should not have any sort of say in whether or not the woman keeps the child or gives the child up to a two-parent home that is more prepared. And abortion should just be made illegal, because, that's just murder. Such actions would serve to incentivize and place emphasis on the importance of marriage. The unwillingness of men to commit to women today. The broken homes, divorce, etc. Illegitimate children. It is an almost direct result from the sexual revolution and the feminist movement.